Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I titled this message, "The exterior has changed, but the interior, not so much." When we think of businesses who change their storefronts, right? And they look very appealing, but we know that the businesses are still maintained, owned by, created by someone who isn't all that nice, good, or what have you in a community. It doesn't matter that the exterior has changed. We know what that interior looks like. We know that the folks who are running it are not the types of folks that we want to buy from. Well, let us ponder that same concept when it comes to relationships, for instance. Someone divorces a partner, decides that he or she is going to change their appearance and become more appealing. So the exercising is taking place. The cosmetic surgery is done. Even there's a move into a new location and there's a new vehicle purchase and everything is fresh and new, right? But the interior, that one who we see making all these changes, sit down with him or her for a while and they're still the same. Okay? How about when it comes to making new friends? Sure, there's new hobbies, there's a new appearance once again, new location, but yet that person on the inside is still just as troubled as he or she was when they were in the last social circle, stirring up some conflict, creating a lot of drama. Even the new people start to question, I wonder why he or she doesn't have any of those old friends any longer. Oh, I can see why. Look at how they're behaving. Look at what she's saying. Look at, what she's doing and listen to what he's saying. You see, people start to pay attention that the exterior is not matched up with the interior. Sure, you look good, right? Sure, you look young for your age. Sure, you are physically fit. And yes, everything is looking so nice and so sweet about you. But when I sit down and talk to you, do I experience something a bit different about you? Is there a sincere change? Is God really with you, or is it just all about an act? Oh, let's spend some more time with some of these people, shall we? Let's start questioning them on some things. Let's start testing the spirits a bit. Are you really changed like the way you appear? Let's look at the hair. Right? Let's look at the nails and so forth, right? Quite pretty. But all of that pretty does not reflect what is on the inside. Some of you all, you know that an ex looks very, very nice looking, right? Oh, a real head turner, but when you sit down though and talk to that ex, you realize she's still the same. I don't care how pretty she looks. She's still the same. Or how about that man, right? He lost all that weight. He just looks good, doesn't he? Doesn't look like he aged much at all. But spend some time with him. And he's still just as arrogant, just as evil in his ways as he was back in the day. You see, sometimes we get deceived. We get deceived by what we see. Going back to that example that I used with that building. You see, if somebody doesn't know any better, they'll go inside that business, right? And they'll talk about, oh, this is good. This is nice. I like this product and that one, and buy them all up, right? All that stuff that they see on sale, only to go home and realize, oh, these products are cheap. That's why the community wasn't all that impressed. Wasn't all that impressed with the new grand opening and all these so-called changes, because the product hasn't changed. They're still purchasing from the cheap supplier overseas, and they're not going to keep wasting their money. But you know, that new person coming in, right? The one that doesn't know, they end up learning the hard way. Now, this is where we end up getting into trouble, is when we know some things about some people and we go ahead and we let some folks suffer. Are you much of a friend if you do that sort of thing? Well, I just don't get into people's business. But once again, are you much of a friend when you allow people to hang themselves? I beg to differ. I believe that some people are nothing more than agents for Satan when they sit there and they know things about folks and they don't even warn you. You can warn people about things in such a way where you're not sounding like some gossip, where you're not meddling in someone's business. You could tell a story or two. You can bring up a past experience. You could be quite bold, depending on how God moves you, as long as God's moving you, though, to tell people certain things, because sometimes God's not moving people to do things, and I understand that. But there are those who they feel convicted. Sometimes they toss and turn at night because they're not opening up their mouths and warning some people about, let's say, going back to that example of the business. You know that that business is shady. You've been living in that community for a number of years, and you won't open up your mouth and say anything to the people that are talking about going over there to shop. Some people, they just don't care for folks very much. That's why they don't open up their mouths to say anything. They don't say anything to their family to warn them about anything. Their partners, their friends, no one. Nope, I'm not saying anything. They'll just have to figure it all out, because in the past, that person most likely had went through some negative confrontation with some folks, okay, about some things that they said. And so they get burned and they feel like they should never open their mouth up again about things. But the enemy is not going to shut my mouth. I'll tell you that right now. The enemy's not going to shut my mouth on the things that God has moved upon me to speak. When we see that what appears to be sweet and nice really is not what it is, we can do one of two things. We can keep on going over there until we get burned by that person, or we can guard our hearts, right? Because sometimes it's not about warning anybody of anything. It's just, you know some things, and so therefore you know how to behave around some folks. And then sometimes people will pay close attention to the way you behave, especially if they if they respect you and you have some kind of influence on them. They'll follow your lead, and you don't even have to open up your mouth. They'll just see, sister so-and-so, she's not going over there spending too much time talking to that person like she once did. Oh, I noticed that brother so-and-so, he's not going over there and, talking to those people and telling them a bunch of stuff like he does with the other brothers. I wonder why. You see, people start paying attention and they put two and two together and they say, well, maybe I should not, be so open and so, forthcoming with information, because I see, the brothers and sisters are quite guarded. And there's nothing wrong with being very observant and paying close attention and following somebody's lead if that's going to keep you out of trouble. Absolutely. Because once again, not everybody who looks beautiful, who behaves honestly, who appears to be sweet really is. Sometimes people are working very hard to put on that act because they're fighting the demons that are within and around them. And if you were to get around some people that know them very well, they would say, she's not a bad person, but you might want to be careful with her. You see, well, he's okay, but he has another side to him. I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm just going to say he got another side to him, you see. And maybe some people have said that about you. The reason why some folks tiptoe around you and they don't necessarily act in the way they once acted by the time certain relatives and friends got to them. Now they're acting different towards you. Now, whether the accusations, the observations, the assumptions, or what have you are indeed truthful or not, the point is that people are going to treat you in the way that they feel is most appropriate until you prove otherwise. So for some of you all, you are in a season where you are proving yourself because of all of the lies and all of the disrespect and all of the negative stuff that the enemy has put out there about you. So now you've got to be the one that says, look, I am indeed a child of God. I am doing the things that God has called me to do. I'm not on drugs or alcohol. I'm not tripping. I've got my act together. You got to prove yourself. And sometimes we get angry. Sometimes we get angry because we got to prove ourselves because of some stupid stuff that people said. But hey, think about it. If somebody told you a bunch of stuff about someone, let's say that you were going to go into business with, you're going to be guarded too. And until that person proves that they're trustworthy, you're going to be guarded. So you ride through the storm, you go through the testing period, and then you do what you have to do. But just don't be that one that's deceived into thinking that just because somebody is polished, looks a certain way, acts a certain way, that they are in fact trustworthy, honest, a pillar of the community, or anything else. Because remember, children of darkness can show up like children of light. Satan knows how to transform himself into a very, very beautiful, admirable, brilliant sort of individual. And then once you start lifting up the veils, once you start taking off the covers, once you start doing a little investigation, a little research and so forth, you see that what appears to be really isn't. So let us take a moment and bow our heads and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, please give us the wisdom, the discernment, and anything else we need in order to see that one is a child of darkness rather than a child of light. Cause us not to be deceived by appearances, assuming that because someone has cleaned up, that they are also cleaned up spiritually. Lord, protect us from all harm and danger, as well as our family members and friends, so that they are not deceived and being used by the enemy to try to trap us into building some false partnerships or alliances or so forth. We just ask, Lord, for your guidance, because we need it as we are embarking in new journeys, as we are meeting new people. We need your guidance. So please be with us. In Jesus' name. Thank you for listening. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. We do welcome donations. Also, you've been listening to YouTube NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to subscribe. Blessings to you.